Hey YouTube. I have been lurking here for what feels like forever, reading stories that made me laugh, cry, or just sit there in shock. But I have never posted until now. My hands are shaking as I type this, because what I am about to share is heavy, messy, and likely to get me flamed. I am 19, and I am in love with my 65-year-old uncle, Uncle Jack. I can already hear the gasps, the what the hells, and the report this comments, but I need to get this out. This is not some twisted fantasy or a cry for help, it is real, it is complicated, and it is a part of me I cannot ignore. I am hoping some of you might listen with an open mind, or at least try to see it from my side. Here is my story, and it is a long one, so grab a coffee. It all started a couple of years ago when I was 17, though nothing happened back then, it was just the seed of something I did not understand yet. I have always been close to Uncle Jack. He is my mom's younger brother, the cool uncle who would take me fishing or teach me how to skip rocks when I was a kid. After my dad walked out when I was 6, Jack became this steady presence, showing up with tools to fix things at home, telling me stories about his days as a mechanic, or just sitting with me when I was sad. He has this little house cluttered with old car parts, faded photos, and the smell of oil and wood polish, and it has always felt like a second home to me. When I turned 18 and started working part-time at a diner, I would drop by more often, helping him with projects or just talking about life. At first, it was all innocent. We would sit in his garage, him showing me how to tighten a bolt or change a spark plug, while I would ramble about school or the rude customers I dealt with. He would laugh at my bad impressions, his gray eyes crinkling, and I would bring him coffee, black, no sugar, just how he liked it. I noticed little things over time, how his hands, rough and calloused from years of work, moved with this quiet grace, how his voice had this deep, soothing tone that calmed me, how he would look at me like he was really seeing me. I thought it was just admiration, maybe gratitude for how he had been there for me. I was wrong. The shift came last year, when I was 18. I had a brutal day at the diner, some guy screamed at me over a wrong order, and I was a teary mess by the time I clocked out. I went to Jack's place, needing to escape. He listened, like always, his brow furrowed with concern, and then he pulled me into a hug. It wasn't the usual uncle hug, it lasted longer, his arms strong and warm around me, and I felt this strange flutter in my chest, like my heart was waking up. He brushed a tear from my cheek, his thumb lingering on my skin, and I looked up to see something in his eyes, something deeper than family, something that made my breath catch. I pulled away, my mind spinning, but that moment haunted me for days. Over the next few months, those moments piled up. We would sit closer on his couch, our shoulders brushing under a shared blanket. He would say things like, "You've grown into such a beautiful person, Lily," and it was not just a compliment, it felt personal, intimate. I started dreaming about him, waking up with this ache I couldn't name, my skin tingling with thoughts of his touch. I was 18, he was 64, and he was my uncle. My brain screamed it was wrong, a betrayal of everything I had known, but my heart kept pulling me toward him. One night, after watching an old movie together, I stayed late. We were on the couch, the room dim, and I felt this magnetic pull. I leaned in and kissed him. It was soft, unsure, and he froze. Then he kissed me back, just for a heartbeat, before pulling away. "Lily, we can't," he said, his voice rough with emotion. But the way he looked at me, conflicted and longing, told me he wanted to. We avoided it for weeks after that. I was a wreck, guilt gnawed at me, but so did this yearning I couldn't shake. I would lie awake, replaying that kiss, wondering if I had imagined it. Then one evening, he called me over. We sat in his kitchen, the clock ticking loudly, the air thick with tension. "I've been thinking," he said, his hands trembling as he held a mug. "I love you, Lily. Not just as family. I have tried to stop, but I can't. And it's killing me." My heart leapt into my throat. I told him I felt the same, that it wasn't a phase, it was love, raw and undeniable. We agreed to explore it, to keep it hidden, because we both knew the world would tear us apart if they found out. From there, we became something more. We would meet at his house, away from the judging eyes of town, spending evenings talking, laughing, and slowly peeling back the layers of this new us. He would cook dinner, grilled cheese with extra butter, or a hearty beef stew, and we would sit by the fire, his arm around me, the crackle of logs filling the silence. It felt right, like we had found a piece of ourselves in each other. But the physical side, that's where it got intense, and it's hard to put into words without sounding like I'm oversharing, but I need to explain what it means to me. I'd never been with anyone before, and the first time was nerve-wracking. We were on his couch one night, the fire casting shadows on the walls, and he looked at me with those gray eyes, asking, "Are you sure, Lily?" His voice was gentle but thick with emotion. I nodded, my pulse hammering. When he kissed me, it was slow, deep, like he was pouring his soul into it. His hands, rough but tender, traced my arms, my back, pulling me closer until I could feel the heat of his body against mine. We moved to his bedroom, the moonlight filtering through the curtains, and it felt like stepping into a different world. His touch was deliberate, exploring me with a reverence that made my skin tingle and my breath hitch. Every kiss, every caress, sent waves of warmth through me, and I could feel his breath catch, his hands trembling with desire. It wasn't rushed, it was this slow, burning connection that made my head spin and my heart swell. What made it so incredible was how he made me feel. He'd whisper my name, his voice low and husky, sending shivers down my spine and pooling heat in my chest. His experience showed in the way he knew my body, where to linger with his fingers, where to press with his lips, making me gasp and cling to him, my senses overwhelmed. And I loved watching him lose himself in it, the way his eyes darkened with want, the soft groans he couldn't hold back when I touched him. It was passionate, yes, but also tender, like we were sharing something sacred, a bond that went beyond the physical. One night, lying thereafter, my head on his chest, he traced my shoulder and said, "You're my light, Lily." I felt whole, like every part of me belonged with him, our breaths sinking in the quiet. It wasn't always gentle, though. Sometimes the desire took over with a fierceness that surprised us both. One afternoon, after weeks apart, my mom had been watching me like a hawk. We barely made it inside his house. The door had barely clicked shut before we were kissing, urgent and wild, his hands in my hair, pulling me close like he couldn't stand any distance. I could feel the strength in him, the way he pressed against me, his breath hot against my neck. My fingers dug into his back, and we moved together with this raw, electric energy, our bodies finding a rhythm that felt primal yet perfect. We collapsed afterward, breathless and laughing, tangled in each other on the living room floor, and I felt alive in a way I'd never known before. Even in those heated moments, there was this undercurrent of love, of care, that made it more than just passion. Another time, during a rainy weekend, we were in his garage, working on an old Mustang he'd been restoring. The rain drummed on the roof, and we were laughing, covered in grease, when he pulled me close, kissing me against the car's hood. It turned into this messy, heated encounter, his hands sliding under my shirt, my legs wrapping around him as the cold metal pressed against my back. The contrast of the rain's chill and his warmth, the urgency of our touches, left me dizzy. Afterward, we sat there, rain dripping through the open door, and I rested my head on his shoulder, feeling like we'd carved out our own little world. The world outside didn't see it that way, though. My mom noticed I was distant and confronted me one night. When I broke down and told her about Jack, she lost it, screaming that it was disgusting, that he was sick, that I was brainwashed. She kicked me out, and my brother won't even look at me now. Friends whispered, some stopped texting, others outright called me names. Jack's sister, my aunt, found out through a slip-up and threatened to report him to the police, though she hasn't yet. It's been isolating, but Jack and I cling to each other. He worries constantly, late at night, confessing he feels guilty, like he's stealing my youth. "You should be with someone your age, Lily," he'd say, his voice breaking. I'd kiss him, tears in my eyes, and tell him, "You're my youth. You make me feel alive," and I meant it. His age brought wisdom, patience, a depth that made our love richer than anything I'd imagined. We've had beautiful moments to hold on to. One summer, we drove to a lake a few hours away, renting a cabin to escape. We'd swim in the mornings, his laughter echoing over the water, and at night, we'd sit by the fire, hands entwined. One evening, after a day of boating, we went inside, still damp and laughing. The air turned charged, and he kissed me, slow at first, then deeper, leading me to the bedroom. The way he touched me that night, his hands mapping my skin, his lips trailing heat down my neck, felt like a dance, every move igniting me. Afterward, we lay there, the sound of crickets mixing with his steady breathing, and I felt like I'd found home. Another memory is from last winter, when a snowstorm trapped us at his house. We spent days curled up, playing cards, talking about our dreams. One night, the power went out, and we huddled under blankets, his arms around me. The cold drove us closer, and soon we were kissing, the heat between us chasing away the chill. It was slow, intimate, his hands warm against my skin, and when we came together, it felt like a promise sealed in the dark. We fell asleep like that, tangled and warm, and I woke up to him watching me, a soft smile on his face. I know this is taboo, legally, morally, socially. I've read the laws, the forums, the horror stories. I've felt the shame, the fear of being found out. But to me, it's love. Jack's my safe place, my fire, my everything. He's taught me to see beauty in the unexpected, to fight for what feels true. We don't have forever, time is a shadow we both sense, with his health starting to show signs of age, but it makes every touch, every kiss, burn brighter. I'm 19, he's 65, and he's my uncle, but he's also my heart. I don't expect everyone to get it, but if you've ever loved someone society judges, maybe you'll understand a little. Thanks for reading, Reddit. Be kind if you can, I'm already carrying enough.